Hello, I'm Sam from Jessup Says. The focus of my channel is to share and educate on how to buy less, buy better. It's not necessarily about buying less things, it's about buying something that fits its purpose perfectly and ultimately serves you for as long as possible. Last week we covered my current favorite pair of jeans. So this week I wanted to cover a pair of denim that is maybe a bit more trendy, maybe a bit more aesthetically focused. Everyone and their mum seems to have a cool pair of these jeans, but I personally couldn't ever find one. And I can honestly say that I've been looking for a pair of light washed jeans for a super long time. I did find a cool pair by Tanuki. They're a light washed indigo dye, and we'll cover that in a future episode, but they're not the same as a proper light wash. A proper light wash is extremely iconic. It's an aesthetic that I enjoy, and I really like the way that I see people wearing them, and I thought that for me personally, it would be extremely useful in both summer and winter. There are many different companies who have their own approach to a light wash jean. Some of them are good, some of them are not so good, and I've really been looking for what I would consider the perfect sort of old school Levi's looking light wash denim look. It's not always possible to achieve this effect naturally. Eventually, the Informale JE19s will fade enough to hopefully resemble the color of a light wash. But I've seen that could take up to 10 years to achieve. And since I don't have that kind of time to wait, I've been looking for a pair that fit that bill without the time investment. Today we cover what is my second favorite pair of jeans. The perfect Levi's alternative, the ultimate dad jean from Berg and Berg, the Arthur light washed blue jeans. Let's start off with the details as we see them on the website. They're described as a 5-pocket jean with a high-rise, straight leg. They're cut from an Italian 13-ounce cotton salvage denim, and they have a button fly and butt loops. In a bit more detail, they are 100% cotton, 13 ounces of salvage denim. The fabric is woven in Italy. They are made in Italy. They are pre-shrunk. I presume that means that they're sanforized. They have been multiple washed, possibly bleached, but we'll discuss that later. They are currently 143 euros on sale. They retailed originally for 285 euros, which is when I bought them, which is round about 420 Australian dollars. Sadly, there isn't a whole lot of information about where any of the fabric or accessories are made on a very specific level, so I'm just going to talk about how they look and feel. First up, let's talk about the cut, because I really believe that they have nailed this cut. The cut is also one of the things that I have a small problem with these jeans. So, there's that too. The silhouette is basically the perfect vintage dad jean, and exactly what I was personally looking for. The classic high rise with a nice looking clean leg. It looks like, you're in a Friends episode or something, and again, it's exactly what I was looking for. So you can get a feel for how that converts into actual dimensions. Let's do our lay flat measurements for comparison. Once again, this is a size 34 with a 32 inseam. I haven't actually hemmed them because I don't need to, which is really nice. They just rolled up at the bottom. I could hem them, but yeah, they're a nice length and I like the look. So laying flat, these Arthur jeans dimensions are: the waist is a 45, the thigh is a 31, the leg opening is 20 centimeters. This means that the waist and thigh measurements are 2 centimeters larger than the Informale JE19s, but the leg opening is about the same. They sit about the same as the Informale on the front, and the legs are extremely similar. But with the Bergs, there's a little bit more room in the thigh and in the front area. Either way, those two areas are very comfortable, but the issue comes with the back. The back of the jeans tend to ride a bit low, and because it's high rise in the front, it always seems a little imbalanced. And I always find myself, having to pull them up across the back, especially if you sit down and stand up or sit down and stand up. You have to readjust every time. It's a bit annoying, and I suppose it's a slight inconvenience, but it does matter when you're talking about fit and comfort. And the first few times I'm wearing them, they just didn't really have space to accommodate, my glutes. So hopefully you can see what I mean in this little video. The waistband is completely straight across the front on both the front and back sections. I made a reference to why the JE19s are so comfortable in that last video. So hopefully you can see now, compared to the JE19s, where you can see that the front waistband is curved downwards, with the back being flat across the back. This is to accommodate a bum, and because our hips naturally slant from back to front, this approach just ends up being much more comfortable. The Berg and Berg approach is much more common, and it's what you see in, honestly, a lot of trousers. They will eventually break in and are already starting to, because denim is quite a malleable fabric. But out of the box, the fit around the bum was a real letdown. This isn't actually only a problem for me. I had someone else try these on with a different body shape to mine, and they had the exact same issues. It doesn't mean that these are uncomfortable, it just means that the bum will be a bit of a pain until they mold around your body. The leg and the fit everywhere else is genuinely amazing, so I don't see this as a discouraging point, rather it's a point where I prefer the JE19s and their initial fit. At 13 ounces, the Berg and Berg Arthur's fabric is just marginally lighter weight than the Informale denim, but in person it does feel significantly lighter. It's probably because the denim is sourced from Italy, where we know that they make some of the nicest and softest fabrics on the planet, compared to Japanese denim, which I suppose has a reputation for being quite rugged and resilient. And you barely ever hear Japanese denim being described as soft. But I think in the context of a denim that's washed out like this one is, with the denim being sourced from Italy and the made in Italy craftsmanship, they are definitely made for extreme comfort. The fabric honestly goes above and beyond in this area. They are extremely soft, like way beyond any other denim I've felt before. It's more like a moleskin than a denim. They really do feel like they've been handed down through the generations, and I kind of love that. The surface of the denim is also just perfection. It's exactly what you'd imagine a pair of 1980s Levi's to look like if they still lasted. It's sort of smooth with faint vertical pattern to it. It's really lovely. The denim is of course salvage denim, and the salvage ID is red, black and white, so those are the different colors there. It's a very classic salvage ID. It's quite narrow compared to the JE19s, so there is no room to let these out. Not that I can imagine you'd need to. You'd end up ruining the cut. The final noticeable feature of the denim is the color, which is a very light wash. Something you'd expect a normal indigo pair to look like after many washes and many wears. Again, I think the Berg and Berg have absolutely nailed this coloring, and the way it fades naturally around the seat and the seams is truly a work of art, and it's really quite amazing. How they achieve this exactly, I can only guess, but my guess would include bleaching them. You may ask why I assume it's bleached and not just stonewashed. Well, it's because when they arrived, they smelled like bleach, and it was extremely strong, like it filled the room just sitting there. I had to wash them a few times before I could actually wear them without, permeating bleach off me. Luckily that's no longer the case, but it was a bit of a shock at the time and I think worth mentioning. The last feature I wanted to mention is probably the coolest little detail for any of you sartorial nerds out there. All the buttons have Berg and Berg and Made in Italy embossed onto them, and the rivets have a tiny little Berg and Berg, written there, and their logo. It's super cute and a really nice touch. It definitely shows their attention to detail across the entire garment. It's also worth noting that there is no patch on the back, which I personally feel is a bit of a shame. I would have liked to see what Berg and Berg came up with, what sort of creative design they would have come up with, what kind of material they would have used. I think it's a really cool way that designers can sort of express themselves in a kind of weird jean-specific way. Overall, these continue to be my second favorite pair of denim. They are probably the coolest pair of denim that I own, in the way that nerds are cool now and that 90s denim is back in style. I'm personally here for the style. I think that it works amazingly with both a sports coat as well as a t-shirt, and I can see myself wearing these jeans a lot in both summer and winter, and hopefully for years to come. Overall, I'm super impressed with these jeans, and they're definitely going to stay in my heavy rotation, and I look forward to breaking them in even further. Thanks very much for watching. Links are in the description as always, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Cheers.